Hello everyone. In this short lecture, I'm going to give an introduction for the economics. Basically, what is meant by economics and what is the microeconomics and macroeconomics. So my definitions and my way of presentation will be very crystal clear. I don't want to make the things complicated. I'll straight away come to the point. What is the basics of the economics and what is microeconomics and what is macroeconomics, right? So first, basically, economics is the study of production, distribution, and consumption. So before reading this line, economics is the study of production, distribution, and consumption. First, identify the different groups in the economy. Basically, these are the three participants in the economy. One is called as producers, also known as firms, consumers, also called as households, and the government. So basically, these three entities, government, and consumers or households. You can also call as consumers or households. So some people call as consumers, some people will call as households, and some people will call as firms. Okay, right. So these are the three major participants in the economy. How they behave, how they behave. The economic studies how they behave and why they behave like that. So the reason behind their behavior, their actual behavior, and the reason behind their behavior. That is the job or function of the economics. Economics studies the behavior of these three entities: government, households, and firms. So first, how the process of economics flows. Okay, right. I'll show you. Step one in the economics. In the economics, the very first step. So the very first step in the economy, for the very first step in the economic process is that firms, also known as business entities. Firms, also known as business entities. So many people may confuse what is meant by firms, also known as business entities. Firms will study the behavior, of consumers. Behavior of consumers. So firms will study the behavior of consumers and the reason behind such behavior. Okay, firms or business entities will study the behavior of consumers and the reason behind such behavior. So this is known as theory of consumers. Consumer theory. This is known as consumer theory, a part and parcel of the microeconomics aspect. So the theory of consumers, consumer theory of consumers. It is a part of microeconomics. Theory of consumers is a part of microeconomics. Take step 2. So what step 2 will be done? So firms will take decision. A decision regarding what kind of goods to produce, okay, what quantity to produce, how much quantity to produce, at what price to charge, and what price to charge for this, for such goods or services. You can say goods or services. These decisions are based on the behavior of the consumers. So step 1 is the background logic or background research we have done to take the decision in the step 2. So after step 1 and step 2, we'll reach some third position called as step 3. Economy will reach certain level of activity. Economy or country, in the sense economy or country will reach certain stage of supply and demand, will still certain stage of economic wealth, or you can say certain stage of wealth will be created. So this process of firm producing goods, producing and selling the goods, and consumers buying for that, it generate some level of income. So if this is where the third entity called as government steps into the picture. So till here we studied the behavior of these two, how the firm behaves, how the firm takes a decision, etc. So now that after reaching the third step, now in the fourth step, the government enters to the picture. If the level of wealth created by the decisions taken by the firms and the households are appropriate or optimum, the government job is to distribute that wealth. If that level of wealth is not appropriate, the government job is to influence the firms and the households to change their decisions by way of government policies. Okay, if that level of wealth, step 4, you can say step 4. Step 4, if that level of wealth, so the government intervenes to distribute that wealth, to distribute such wealth, to distribute the created wealth, to distribute the created wealth. So here also the government studies the economy. Government uses the knowledge of economics to decide how much to distribute to what kind of people. So the decision of distribution, how much to distribute to what kind of people, in what way distribution to be done, all depends on the economic knowledge. Okay, economics knowledge guides the government. Economics knowledge guides the government as to how much to distribute to what kind of people, how much to distribute, what way to distribute, to what section of people to distribute, to what sections or group of people, sections or groups of people to distribute. So these are the decisions taken by the government. So this is called as consumption decision. That's why we told economics is the study of consumption, production, and distribution. I hope by now you understand what is these points. So first, firm will study the behavior of the consumers. Thereafter, firm will take the production decision. Thereafter, the government will take the distribution decision. Okay. First, consumers will take the decisions. Based on the decisions of the consumers, firms will take the decisions. Based on the aggregate impact of these two, government will take the decision, distribution. Okay, right. So step 4, alternatively, step 5, you can say. So to increase that wealth, government through its policy making, attempts to influence the firms and households to modify their decisions, This is done to increase the wealth. This is done to increase the wealth. This is the very simplest form. I'm not using much of technical jargon to unnecessarily make the concept very difficult or complicated. In plain words, in very simple, for a layman perspective, this is the whole thing about how the economy happens. Okay, so the government also intervenes for two things: to distribute the wealth, and another one is to increase the wealth. Through its policy making, government influences the behavior of the firms and also the influences the behavior of the households. That's why these two. Economics is the study of production, distribution, and consumption. There are three major participants, that is government, households, and also firms. Right. So this is all about how these three players will play in the market. And these are some important definitions given by popular authors in the economics, known as father of economics, father of economics. Okay. Economics is the study of the use of scarce resources to satisfy unlimited human wants. So basically, the problem is that our human wants are unlimited, whereas resources are very limited. Limited resources we have to apply for unlimited wants. Okay. Next, economic comes in whenever more of one thing means less of another. So the first definition talks about distribution, also known as allocation, how the limited resources should be allocated across various uses or across various purposes. So basically the first point, economics guides you. Economics knowledge guides us regarding distribution or allocation of scarce resources across various uses, across various purposes. Economics knowledge guides us regarding distribution or allocation of scarce resources across various purposes. This is first thing. Next point is economics comes in whenever more of one thing means less of another. So whenever there is a necessity, since the resources are very scarce and the wants are unlimited, what we need to do is we need to do some sacrifice, also known as trade-off. Economics guides us in trade-off decisions. What is meant by trade-off decisions? One thing to be sacrificed, or given up to get another thing. Okay, so economics guides you what to sacrifice to get what and how much to sacrifice. So economics guides us what to sacrifice to get what and how much to sacrifice, and how much to sacrifice, and also why to sacrifice, Okay, economics guides us what to sacrifice and how much to sacrifice, why to sacrifice. because not possible. Sir, why we need to sacrifice certain happiness or certain activities? Boss, we can't afford it. Sir, why I can't purchase bench car? Why I can't purchase Audi car? Because I can't afford it. Economics guides means that yes, it is not the purpose where you spend the money. If you spend for that, you will not get maximum utility. You will not get maximum utility. No doubt, you'll get something, but your utility is not maximized. Your utility is not maximized. So basically, consumers are looking for maximizing their utility. Consumers are looking for maximizing their utility. So economics guides us if you sacrifice something and get something so that your utility will be maximized. Okay, this is the process. Second concept is economics guides us in sacrificing decisions. Economics guides us allocation and also sacrifice. Economics is the art of making most of life. That is nothing but optimum. So it is a it is a buzzword in the business. Now people are using optimum. So optimum in the sense most appropriate thing. Optimum in the sense the best or most appropriate thing. Extreme, not the extremes. Equilibrium. Economic, not the extremes, it's the equilibrium. Here I would like to give once again, the role of the government is to bring the economy towards the equilibrium whenever it goes to the extremes. That is the very important role of government. So role of government is to bring the economy towards as close as possible to the equilibrium stage. Whenever economy goes to extremes. This is in simple words. I'm not using technical words. I'm not using very scientific words so that a non-commerce or student may not understand this. So I'm using very simple language of what the economy does. The role of government, whenever the economy goes extremes, when the demand is too high, the inflation level is very high, or when the demand is very too low, the prices are very low. These are two extremes. The government will do something to bring the economy from those two extremes towards as close as possible to the equilibrium. 100% sure that we'll never reach an equilibrium stage. It is never possible, either in the business, either in the family, or for the government. It is never possible for us to reach the equilibrium stage. Equilibrium stage is the perfect stage, and perfection is a never-ending process. Nobody will be perfect in life forever. Always it's a process towards the perfection as much as possible. Definitely you will not reach the destination, that's for sure. There is no end to that. Therefore we can't say that government will ensure that we'll reach the equilibrium stage. No, we will not reach the equilibrium stage, but as close as possible. So therefore government's job is, whenever the economy goes to any of these two extremes, to bring back that economy towards the equilibrium as close as possible. This is what the point. Optimum means equilibrium, what is appropriate. Okay, this is brief about economics. So now we'll look at the two branches of the economics. One is microeconomics, another one is macroeconomics. Microeconomics deals with the markets. And decision making of economic units, including consumers and businesses. As I told you, these two are microeconomics. The decisions made by firms and individuals. This is a microeconomics, and these decisions of government is called as macroeconomics. So government studies the aggregate level of output. In the microeconomics. So microeconomics deals with the markets and decision making of economic units, including consumers and businesses. So look at this concept here. Consumers focuses on utility maximizing, whereas firms will focus on profit maximizing. Here where the difference between the normal consumers and the business entities. So what is meant by utility? Psychological satisfaction or happiness you derive from a particular thing. Psychological satisfaction or happiness you will derive from a particular thing. That is the utility maximizing. Consumers are not always profit maximizing. They are mostly utility maximizing. Okay, whereas firms are profit maximizing. Let me give a small example. Normally, you might have observed most of the employed people, they are going for a home loan, and they are buying a house by taking a home loan from the banks or from somewhere else. The reason why? To give a psychological satisfaction that yes, they own a house. But if you look at the math, if you do some kind of small mathematical calculations, so staying at rented house will be less costly than buying a house. Most especially if you buy a flat in apartments, it may not be as economy as possible. If you buy an independent house, that's a different issue. Your land value may get appreciated. But if you buy a house in an apartment, it's not a good economic decision. It's better to stay in the rental house rather than buying a house, buying a flat in the apartments. But the people needs the psychological satisfaction, the social image that yes, they own a house. That is what they want. To maximize that, people will go for will take a particular decision. Therefore, consumers are focusing on maximizing their utility, whereas firms will focus on maximizing their profit. The same concept, if you look at the business entities, most of the business entities are now going for asset-light model. They are now going for a asset-light model. They are not taking their own buildings. They are going for rental premises, because suddenly if the business upset, they can close the building, they can close the rental agreement, and they can wind up the company. Rather than taking so much of debt and constructing the old building, thereafter business is not viable, closing the business, unable to repay the debt, all this stuff, why unnecessary? Go for asset light model, go for rental building. Whenever you want, you can vacate it. That's it. You need not customize the building for your own purpose. You need not waste so much of money. It gives a freedom to take a risky decision. The moment you have debt and the moment you have a lot of weight in the balance sheet, it puts some pressure. It prevents you from taking a risky decision. That is the mistake avoided by the firms, whereas done by the individuals. Because the firm's perspective, not the psychological satisfaction of this building is my company's own building. Not necessary. I am doing business from this building. This building need not be my own building. This building need not be my own building. It may be a rental building. I don't want the psychological satisfaction. I will only see my balance sheet and bank balance. That's it. Profit maximizing. So individuals will focus on utility maximizing, whereas firms will focus on profit maximizing. By remembering this concept called as utility maximizing individuals, this concept called as utility maximizing, this the concept of branded products or premium products comes here. I'll show you what is the economics or the logic behind branded products or premium products. Wait, I'll give a small example. Why the branded products, why the companies will prefer branded products. Okay, why the companies will try to produce branded products, and why the branded products will get more profits than normal products. Look at this. A normal entity. Okay, so we'll do value addition of 8 rupees. Value addition or utility of 8 rupees. Utility of 8 rupees. And their profits of rupees 2 rupees, and their profits 2. Sale price will be 10. So if a consumer purchases this product, he will get the utility of 8. Just I am measuring in units. He'll get the utility or psychological satisfaction of 8. Okay. But if a branded entity, what the branded entity they will do is that they will do the utility of 12, and they will charge a profit of 8, and their sale price will be 20. Their sale price will be 20. So these are the two products I've given. One product, 8 rupees worth product, I'm selling at 10 rupees. 12 rupees worth product, I'm selling at 20 rupees. So if the people can offer, they will go for this branded entity. Normally, consumers will prefer this branded item. Unconsciously, they don't know that they are paying much more than the worth. No doubt there is an improvement when compared to the normal product, the branded products, there is an improvement, no doubt that. But for that improvement, you are paying more than the improvement you obtained. You are paying more than the improvement you obtained. That is an unconscious decision of the consumer or the psychological limitation of the consumer. Here where the branded business comes into the picture. Normally, if you observe, for their utility, whatever the value addition they have done, they have charged 25% margin. If you look at this is 25% margin. 2 rupees divided by 8, this is 25% margin. 25% margin. Whereas for a normal product, look at this. So I am charging for a branded entity, normal value addition 8 rupees. Normal value addition 8 rupees. Okay, profit element on that 2 rupees. Normal value addition 8 rupees. Profit element on that is 2 rupees. So sale price should be appropriate sale price. Appropriate sale price should be how much? Appropriate sale price should be 10. Based on the normal company. But what the branded company will do? So they will use additional value addition. Normal value addition. This is normal value addition, and this is additional value addition. This is additional value addition. So additional value addition, how much they are doing? They are doing 4. And for that, what exactly they have to charge? They have to charge 25% of the same into 25%. Same like 2 rupees. So appropriate sale price should be Appropriate sale price would be 15. But how much they are charging? They are charging 20 rupees. 5 rupees is a free money to the branded companies. 5 rupees is free money. Free money to branded products is 5 rupees. So sale price is 20. This is how the economics of branded products launch. Very simple, straightforward, plain example. I'm not complicating the topic, very straightforward. So because why, sir, why the people are doing that? They are getting only 4 rupees extra value. Then why they are paying this much of price? Because they want to maximize this. They want to maximize the utility. If I go this product, my satisfaction will be only 8. But if I go this product, my satisfaction will be 12. Even though I am wasting my money, it doesn't matter. Because my object is not profit. My object is society image. My object is psychological satisfaction. I'm not an economic based person. I'm not a machine, or I'm not a company to make profits maximize. I'm an individual. I'm living in a society. My object is, though I have an object of profit maximizing, because my primary object is society image, utility maximization. No doubt, people are working for money. For what they're earning money? To buy a good house, to buy good gadgets, to buy good vehicles, buy all these things just for the social image, primarily social image. I want to send my daughter, or I want to send my son to the abroad for education. I want to do my daughter's marriage with 10 crores money. Buy all these things only because of society psychological satisfaction. Therefore, people are ready to spend any amount of money. People are ready to spend any amount of money for their psychological satisfaction and for their society image. So this is where the branded products comes into existence, because individuals focus on utility maximizing. They don't focus on profit. They want their happiness is more. Therefore, here your happiness will be more, but you are paying more price for that, but still they are ready. If this is based on this logic, all the branded products will do their business. Okay, all the branded products are doing their business based on this simple logic. Okay, right? Because the firms will focus on profit maximizing. Assume how the individual will take a home loan and why the business are going for asset-led model. That gives a psychological satisfaction, utility maximization, whereas it gives more profit maximization. Therefore, theory of the firm. Right. So long back, I read one article where it has been stated that most of the some of the automobile companies are not selling to are not willing to sell, or reluctant to sell some models to the cab aggregators like Ola and Uber. The reason is that the simple reason they told, many of the CFOs told, is that they are looking for value addition. They are looking for value for the rupee. The cab aggregators are looking for looking value for the rupee. If I pay 10 lakhs for this automobile 4-wheeler, if I pay 20 lakhs for this 4-wheeler, can I get that much of value? That's what that's what is seen by the cab aggregators like Ola and Uber. Whereas the individual, how much value I'll get if I purchase this branded product? No, they don't look at this. What is the design of that car? If I use that 4-wheeler, what is my society image? That's what they will do. Therefore, automobile says people will, even though we are not adding much value, but still if you sell the attractive products, consumers are willing to pay. Whereas the cab aggregators will not pay. Cab aggregators will prefer this. They don't want to throw away free money to them. Whereas the individuals, households are willing on this product. That's where the difference. Cab aggregators prefer this kind of automobiles where they will get their image will be less, but still the utility should be more. Here the consumers prefer this kind of product. Okay, that's where utility maximizing and profit maximizing. So this is all about microeconomics. Basically, microeconomics suggests the rationale for decision making of firms and households. It also guides what decisions to make to achieve desired outcomes. It also studies the impact various factors have over the decision. So basically two aspects here. So microeconomics studies the past behavior of firms. Microeconomics study the past behavior. Microeconomics study the past behavior of firms and households. Microeconomics study the past behavior of how firms and households and the rationale behind it. It also suggests future course of action. It also suggests firms and households about future course of action. It also suggests firms and households about future course of action to achieve their desired outcomes. This in simple words. In simple words, this is what is microeconomics. It studies the past behavior and it also suggests firms and households about future course of action to achieve their desired outcome. Okay, right. So macroeconomics deals with aggregate. This is still here about microeconomics. Now we'll step into the macroeconomics. Macroeconomics deals with aggregate economic activities. So whatever we studied at the microeconomics, the same will be once again studied at the macroeconomics, but at the aggregate level. If the microeconomic studies the price level of a particular commodity, macroeconomic studies the aggregate price level. What is the overall inflation in the economy? Okay, the same items are studied, but the aggregate level, not on an individual basis. Okay, this with aggregate economic activities. What is the price, general price level? What is the total income of the country, rather than the income of a particular consumer or particular category of consumers? They will consider the total wealth or total income of the nation as a whole. Aggregate economic activities. Macroeconomics study the behavior of same constituents as that of microeconomics, but the study is done on an aggregate data. Yes, so you collect the price data, you collect the quantity data. Macroeconomics also does the same thing. It also collects the price data, it also collects the quantity data, but on the aggregate data, they will take the decision based on the aggregate data. So these are the variables primarily basically studied in the macroeconomics. One is inflation level, unemployment, interest rate, etc. Right. Here, if you observe, the constitutional duty of any government is to ensure a basic standard of living to every citizen. Okay, so constitutional duty of every government is to ensure basic standard of living, to its citizens. This is the basic constitutional duty. Duty of every government is to ensure basic standard of living to its citizens. For that, what they should do? The primary task behind every government is to generate employment. Okay, the primary task of this. Okay, to achieve this, the primary function is to provide employment, is to generate employment opportunities. To achieve this, the primary function is to generate employment opportunities. Yes, right. So if the people have employment, then only they can get the income, then only they will get the necessaries to survive. Okay, so to ensure a basic standard of living, government has to generate the employment opportunities. Okay, then government has provided. See, no economy is spared from this problem. Every economy is prone or vulnerable for this problem called as unemployment. Even the most developed economies like US and Europe are not spared from this problem. Everybody is subjected to this problem. Therefore, their primary duty is to generate employment opportunities. Yes, I have done that. Okay, I have provided employment to reasonable people. If not 100% people, at least I have provided employment to 80% or 90% of the people. Okay, fine. So whatever, they are getting some kind of income. With that income, whether they are able to purchase their necessaries, the second question. First question, correct, right? Boss, you are done your first job that you have provided employment to 80% of your people. Fine. Whether with the income what they are getting, whether they are able to purchase the necessaries they want, whether they are able to purchase the food, clothing, and shelter is the question mark. No, they are not able to. They are not able to purchase even food and clothing and shelter, even though they have a job. Why? Because of the inflation. The secondary task. Is to keep the price levels reasonable. So that people will offer. This is what the point. So that an average or common man will offer. Therefore, primarily the government job is one is unemployment, another one is inflation level. So therefore, primarily first provide the employment and thereafter keep the price level at a reasonable, keep the prices at a reasonable level. Then most of the 80% of the problems of any economy will be solved here. But so there are many factors which influences the unemployment. There are many factors which influences the inflation. One of the factors is interest rates. So interest rates impact inflation, interest rates impact unemployment. So one of the factors is interest rates. So we'll study in further lectures in detail about what are the other factors which affect these two major factors. So if it is the 80% of the government job is solved if the government provides employment to most of the people and the government keeps the prices of necessaries at a reasonable level so that people will have a basic standard of living. If 80 to 90% of the people are having basic standard of living, the government will live very peacefully. That is not happening anywhere in the world. Nowhere in the world it is happening like this. Okay, of course, to my knowledge, nowhere in the world it's happening that in everybody, most of the citizens are having basic standard of living. So this is all about briefly about microeconomics and macroeconomics. Finally, my advice is that in my observation, I have seen most of the people are spending more time on macroeconomics, but not on microeconomics. Now I want to give a comparison between microeconomics and macroeconomics. So, and I'll give advice to you why you should spend more time on the macroeconomics, not on the microeconomics, not on macro. Look at this. I'll give a brief comparison of micro and macro. Right, so first I'll give macroeconomics. So it is very exciting to read. It is very exciting to read microeconomics. To read it. It's somewhat boring. It is somewhat boring to read. Okay, that is the reason. The reading macroeconomics will give more excitement, but not the microeconomics. Most of the people may not enjoy reading microeconomics unless those people who are very interested in numbers, very comfortable with the numbers, they don't show much interest in microeconomics. People will spend more time on macroeconomics because that's what excites them. That's what shows more kind of interest. Okay, it's very exciting to read and it's somewhat boring to read. So qualitative content is more than quantitative content, is more than quantitative content. Qualitative content is more than quantitative content. So here quantitative content is more than qualitative content. Okay, it enables us to show off, it enables to portray, it enables to portray or show off knowledge, It enables us to perform, micro tasks well, So average people are not so successful people, spend more time on this. Successful people spend relatively more time, It's not that successful people don't study macroeconomics. Yes, they do study macroeconomics, but they spend more time on microeconomics, spend more time on this. This is the basic. Therefore, my advice is that I have observed 90 to 95% of the students to whom I taught, they're showing more interest in the macroeconomics, not in the microeconomics, because it's very exciting to read. When you know the world, you will get very excited. But when you know the small things, you are not as excited. You are not as excited when you read the small things. This is where the problem comes. Therefore, I told you that God lies in the smallest details. God lies in the smallest details. Not only the big things. You have to remember the fundamental thing. It is so many small things that make up a big thing. It is so many small things that make up a big thing. Therefore, it is very important for us to give more importance to the microeconomics, not the macroeconomics. No doubt, you need to study macroeconomics also, but don't get excited. Don't feel yourself as an expert in the concept in the field called as economics. The moment you need the macroeconomics, it may not be much useful when you enter the corporate. The knowledge of macroeconomics may be useful, may be more useful to those who want to work in government undertakings. Okay, so this knowledge is more useful. This knowledge is more useful to those who work in government entities. Okay, so this knowledge is more useful to those who are working in corporates. To those who work in corporates. Micro, study the micro. So yeah, you have to study the micro only. If you are working in a corporate, you have to study the micro only. So what is the macro region which is resulting in a certain micro result? That's what you have to understand. The knowledge of macroeconomics is required to understand the reason why the microeconomics is end up with certain result. Okay, for my product, first of all, you have to understand the demand for our product, etc. So for that, you can do the macroeconomics knowledge as a background support, but the primary task is focusing on our own business. Why our products are not able to sell, not why our headache is not, our headache is primarily why I'm not able to sell my products. My headache is not why the Indian GDP is not growing. I'm least bothered about the Indian GDP. No doubt it plays a part, but it's all more of academic. It's more of academic to focus on the Indian GDP, etc. But whereas I focus on my consumers, my target consumers, their income levels, their tastes and preferences. I'll pay least attention to the country's GDP. I'll pay least attention to the world's GDP. I'll pay least attention to the world's GDP, but I focus on to my product. So who are the target consumers purchasing my product? Why are they purchasing less quantity? What is the changes in their income levels? What is the changes in their taste and preferences? Go micro. That's it, not the macro. So spend less time on macroeconomics and spend more time on microeconomics, because you are going to land up in a corporate. Unless you are going to land up in a government sector, you are going to advise the government. If you are planning your career as an advisor to the government, prefer macroeconomics. If you are planning your career as an advisor to the private corporates, then prefer microeconomics. So finally, I'll give a couple of minutes time. You can take the screenshot of this, these two description, whatever I wrote. So you can take the screenshot of this, whatever I wrote. So what are the steps in the economics? Okay, my macroeconomics and microeconomics, etc. So in the next lecture, we'll start discussing with the microeconomics. This lecture is all about introduction of what is economics, what is microeconomics, and what is macroeconomics. Okay, thank you.